Very good evening, everyone. Please confirm in the chat if my voice is loud and clear. Good evening, very good evening. So, I'm your host, Dr. Tanushree, and I welcome you all to the exciting webinar on Pharmacovigilance 360 Degree, a complete guide to drug safety and emerging trends. Your all in one guide for understanding how drug safety is monitored, assessed, and improved. So if you are new to this field or want to learn about the latest developments like artificial intelligence in drug safety or vaccine monitoring, you are in the right place. This webinar is designed to give you a complete picture of the evolving field of pharmacovigilance. To enlighten us on this today, we have with us three experienced and eminent personalities. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers of the day. Our first speaker is Dr. Vidya Sagar, founder, CEO, and MD of Salvation Global Private Limited, India. Hello, sir. Welcome, sir, to the webinar. So,
Yeah,
Dr.
thank you.
Sagar, yeah, welcome, sir. So, Dr. Sagar has over 20 years of extensive experience in product development, regulatory submissions, outsourcing, compliance, quality control, and assurance. He holds a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences, a postdoctoral fellowship, and additional qualifications like PGAIML and MBA in artificial intelligence, with 5 international patents and over 60 publications in several esteemed international and national publications. Dr. Sagar is widely recognized for his contributions to medical device innovation and industry. He is highly experienced and has extensive knowledge on new product development, in vitro, bench testing, preclinical and clinical studies, including documentation for regulatory submissions and in D&D. He has played a key role in patenting, documentation, submission, and regulatory approval of multiple class 2 and 3 medical devices for DCGI and or CDSCO. He's also a certified leader auditor. He's also certified lead auditor and a consultant on gap analysis for MDSAP. He brings a wealth of knowledge in clinical trials, biocompatibility, and animal studies for various class of devices in India and abroad. In his session, Dr. Sagar will offer valuable insights on foundation of pharmacovigilance, best practices, and regulatory compliance. He will discuss the importance of pharmacovigilance, ADR reporting, signal detection, risk management, and regulatory compliance, while also introducing key tools, medical writing practices, and audit readiness. Our second speaker is Mr. Suraj Kumar Shah. Mr. Shah is a regulatory professional with expertise in pharmaceutical sciences, bioinformatics, and computational biology. Welcome to the webinar, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tanushree.
Welcome, sir. So, Mr. Shah, he currently serves as a drug inspector and medical device officer in the Drugs Control Department, Government of NCT of Delhi, and recently secured an impressive All India rank 16 in the UPSC Drugs Inspector Exam 2024. Mr. Shah is pursuing his MS at IIT Madras and holds an MS in medicinal chemistry from NIPER, that is National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Raebareli, along with a B Pharma from Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad University of Technology. He has previously worked as an assistant professor at Adamas University and a scientific and medical writer in pharmacovigilance department at Springer Nature. At present, he is responsible for enforcing key pharmaceutical regulations. Today, Mr. Shah is with us to enlighten us on the topic emerging trends in pharmacovigilance, artificial intelligence, biosimilars, and beyond. His session will cover the role of artificial intelligence and machine learning in pharmacovigilance for case processing and signal detection, the impact of pharmacogenomics in personalized medicine, and the use of social media and patient recorded data in pharmacovigilance. Additionally, he will address the challenges in monitoring the safety of herbal and traditional medicines, as well as practices of pharmacovigilance in vaccines and biosimilars. Our third speaker is Mr. Kaushik Kumar, a dynamic and results driven professional with over 7 years of experience in pharmacovigilance. Welcome to the webinar, sir. So Mr. Kaushik brings specialized expertise in quality and compliance, medical coding, drug safety, audits, and drug development. With a strong foundation in team coordination, Mr. Kaushik brings extensive experience and deep expertise in pharmacovigilance regulations and coding dictionaries acquired over the course of his impressive career. Beginning as a junior data analyst at Cognizant, he has since held key roles including drug safety associate at Bioclinica, medical service analyst at Accenture, and operations specialist 1 at IQVIA. Currently, he serves as a pharmacovigilance and drug safety trainer at Biotechnica, where he continues to share his expertise and passion for the field. Mr. Kaushik will give a global perspective on career specs and job opportunities in pharmacovigilance. We are truly honored to have you all with us today, uh, Dr. Sagar, Mr. Shah, and Mr. Kaushik. Just a quick note for everyone. The third session will be followed by a brief Q&A round. So feel free to post your questions in the chat as we go along. So now, without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to our first speaker, Dr. Vidya Sagar. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tanushree. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to all. First, I would like to thank Biotechnica for giving me an opportunity to speak on a very, very important topic. That's very important currently. Considering the drug safety issues that are happening in the medical dialogues or medical events. And perhaps I would like to thank the key people, Shreya Chaudhary, the manager for corporate relations, and all the coordinators, Kaushik, and all the guys who have been around us to take up this topic. As I said, it's very, I could say, uncomfortable to talk about pharmacovigilance 360 in just half an hour or 1 hour because it's a very vast subject covering a lot of things. Of course, Mr. Suraj will be covering on the emerging trends, biosimilars, and also digitalization of pharmacovigilance and all this stuff. But I myself will be covering the topic one on foundations of pharmacovigilance, what are the best practices and regulatory compliance. Of course, as the title itself says, Pharmacovigilance 360 will be covering all the topics in and around pharmacovigilance. Okay, and a complete guide, as the host Tanushree has said, like it's a complete guide to drug safety and emerging trends. As I said, like I really appreciate Biotechnica for taking up this topic, where there is a lot of discussions that are happening on drug safety, perhaps on the benefit risk analysis on this, and a lot of drugs, as you are updated, lot of drugs which have been in the market are recalled recently. There's a big list of drugs, combination of drugs that have been withdrawn recently, almost like 350 drugs. Drug combinations have been withdrawn in the market because of the pharmacovigilance reports. Just yesterday. So, as Tanushree has introduced me, I have did my PhD PDF in Germany and AML in University of Austin, Texas. But of course, I hail from pharma field, but of late I shifted to AML, and of course, the domain covers pharmacovigilance, medical devices, and also we enter into cosmetics. And we have started Salvation Global as CEO in 2022. And we cater to quality and regulatory services, medical writing, uh, not only for pharma, for medical devices, cosmetics, and also for food and other beverages. And we are placed in Hyderabad, and we have branch offices in Bangalore, Gurgaon, and also in abroad in Texas, and couple of them in West India, like in Ahmedabad. So as we move further, and I know we have very limited time, I'll be rushing to some of the slides where it is important. I'll stress upon and I'll give more information and clarity on those. Can you see my slides? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible. And the
Can
screen
you
is
see,
visible.
right?
Yes, it is visible, sir.
Yeah, fine, that's fine. Yeah, to move further on the discussion contents and what which I'll be covering, basically on what this pharmacovigilance is actually. What are the regulations, where it originated? I mean, like the history of pharmacovigilance and the history of regulations, where they started, and of course, the important point here is why it matters. Okay, why pharmacovigilance is important? Why there is so much of importance for pharmacovigilance? And in due course, we will also be reporting, I mean, discussing on ADR, okay, adverse drug events are adverse. I mean, there are a lot of synonyms for pharmacovigilance, like you can call it as ADR, adverse drug reporting, adverse drug events, or some call it as serious drug events reporting, and how we process the cases, how the case report are done, case processing. Of course, if you identify an adverse event, how we process that case, and end of the day where it goes, okay, and how to submit the case reports or case studies. This all we will be covering. And perhaps the important thing is the signal detection, in the sense like if you find an adverse event, okay, how to identify the event and analyze the event and say, is the event, is it closely related to the drug, or is it due to the other comorbidities, or due to other drug interactions or food interactions? We need to analyze, and we need to have some controls to mitigate that adverse event or risk. As I proceed further, I'll discuss much on that. And most important is the risk management. Okay, if you have any risks, okay, that are not acceptable in the pharmacovigilance, okay, what are the steps which we take, like what are the corrective actions, what are the preventive actions, okay, all this we will discuss. And of course, the main important thing is the regulatory compliance. Are we complying to the regulations of the countries which have formulated them or which have documented them? Mainly, I mean, we cover, of course, as I said, like all countries have their regulations, but we focus on mainly on the regulations that are there for Citizco and pharmacovigilance. FDA, US FDA, EMA is the European Medical Agency. Okay, these are big countries where I'll be covering. And what are the tools that are used in pharmacovigilance, like the databases or the reporting systems, like Argus, RSG, and a brief note on PSUs, periodic safety update reports. Okay, of course, on post-marketing surveillance. Okay, and PBBRS is basically the risk benefit analysis of the device. And end of the end of the topic, I'll be talking on medical rating and audit readiness, because of course, like we do the pharmacovigilance, we do the ADR reporting, case processing, signal transduction, risk management, regulatory compliance, and we have a lot of tools and all other things. But end of the day, we need to do the medical rating or document writing, and there will be audits, inspections from the CDSCO or the regulatory bodies to really, I mean, understand what are the adverse events, whether the drug has to be recalled, or the drug can be still be in the market, retained in the market, or whether there be some corrective actions or risk management protocols for the drug, or it will go back to the R&D, or it will go back to the manufacturer. Okay, all this will be decided by the regulatory authorities, okay, based on the audit reports they compile. Okay, pharmacovigilance, I mean, I don't want to elaborate this much, as you do understand. Pharmacovigilance is a science, basically comes under pharmacology or in medicine. Our activities related to one, detecting, okay, detection of adverse events is very important, and assessing the how you assess the whether it's an adverse event or not, okay, whether it's because of other comorbidities or either because of other drug interactions, and understanding the uh, I mean, the adverse event, what is the pharmacological effect, or is it a side effect, whether it's due to the drug. Okay, understanding the risk or the adverse event, and preventing adverse event. This is what we call risk control or risk mitigation. Okay, so that the risk is accepted. Okay, of, I mean, it could be any drug, related event. And mainly we need to understand this pharmacovigilance is done, okay, throughout the life cycle of the drug. Okay, it's not just after the introduction of the drug into the market. Okay, yeah, some companies, some manufacturers do for after introduction into the market. We call it post marketing surveillance. Okay, but as of now, the regulations strictly say that throughout the life cycle of the drug, okay, we need to conduct pharmacovigilance, and hence there is so much of importance for PV pharmacovigilance in understanding the side effects. So as I concisely say, like say detecting the adverse event, assessing the adverse event, understanding the pharmacology of the adverse event. Okay, we make, some may call it as a side effect, some may call it as a pharmacological effect, some cause a adverse event, or some call it as a serious adverse event. But end of the day, we need to have some action plans for preventing the adverse events or the risk mitigation, um, risk mitigation. And bottom line, I say like it will be done throughout the life cycle of the drug. And the good thing is like it ensures the drug safety and effectiveness, so that as we quickly identify the adverse event, okay, adverse event of the drugs, there will be some action plan or risk plans, risk mitigation plans, so that it won't affect the other patients or other populations who are taking later these drugs. So we can either recall them or do some risk mitigations to control the adverse events, so the drug safety will be assured, okay, and the effectiveness and the performance of the drug, okay, can be effectively uh, being seen in the patients who need those drugs, and identifies risk associated with drug use and analysis and mitigation. As I said, we first identify the risks. Okay, and I want to be very clear, like in pharmacovigilance, it's not that we do after the drug is introduced into the market. We also collect the adverse events that are seen in preclinical, that is in the animal trials. Okay, also in the clinical trials, whether it's phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. Okay, in phase 4 also in the post marketing surveillance. Okay, but also in the pharmacovigilance, once the drug is out into the market, we collect a lot of data, because the drug when comes into the real world, all of the clinical trials basically we do either phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 are very controlled trials. Okay, we choose selective patients where there will be total control on the monitoring of their safety. Okay, daily monitoring will be done. But when we enter into the real world, okay, there will be different set of population, who can be infants, who can be young adults, who can be pediatrics, geriatrics, okay, who have comorbids. Okay, like they may have different diseases, but you are using drug for one disease, so there could be a possibility of drug interactions where there could be, I mean, eruption of drug adverse events. Okay, there could be food drug interactions, there could be age related interactions. So we need to analyze all these, identify the risks, the hazards, okay, and find a way to mitigate them. Okay, and of course, as I said, it improves the public health outcomes, so that the patients or the population who are taking later the drugs, whether it's the OTC drugs or prescribed drugs, okay, or some drugs which have narrow therapeutic index, okay, they can have I mean real safety and real good health outcomes. Of course, we'll be talking on pharmacovigilance, post marketing surveillance, periodic safety update reports, or what are the similarities and differences, because most of these words are used, uh, most of these words are basically look similar but not same, and most of them are used as synonyms, but let's try to understand what is the difference and similarities between them. Okay, as I given, I mean, I just will run through the slide on one on one column to my left. I am give full form of these abbreviations. What is pharmacovigilance? Okay, PV, PMS is post marketing surveillance, PSUR is periodic safety update report. Okay, then PBRE is the post marketing benefit risk evaluation. Basically, it's a benefit risk evaluation. Okay, seen not only in drugs, basically also in medical devices. So the other column is the scope. What we do in this. Okay, in pharmacovigilance, basically we detect, as I said, assess, understand, and prevent adverse events. Okay, identify, assess, understand, and end of the day we need to prevent the adverse events. Okay, post-marketing surveillance is basically it's done on a continuous basis, like what we do in pharmacovigilance. Okay, it is for monitoring performance safety of devices. This is mostly done for medical devices. Okay, for understanding the performance and safety of the devices. Periodic safety update report is done in a periodic time, could be like 1 year or 6 months or 3 months or 3 years, based on the regulations and the risk of the drug or the risk of the devices. Okay, as per the regulation, whether it's the FDA or the CDSCO. CDSCO is the one which controls the Indian Indian drugs and medical devices conformity or compliance. Okay, the fourth is the post market benefit and risk. Okay, it's a systemic evaluation of risk and benefit. Okay, it's ongoing or it couldn't be periodic. As I said, the scope includes for pharmacovigilance, it could be drugs. Basically for drugs and medicines, it's very, very important, and we do it in a continuous period. Okay, and all regulatory bodies, whether it's in India or in other countries, has to do this. Okay, and the output will be the signal detection, or signal detection means the identification of the adverse events, and perhaps to have the risk management plans further to stop the adverse events. Okay, PMS of post-marketing surveillance is basically for monitoring the performance and safety of the devices. Okay, basically medical devices. It's also a continuous thing. Here we report to medical medical device regulatory bodies like MDR or CDSCO. Under CDSCO also in India it comes as a medical device, and maybe Mr. Suraj will enlighten us on that. But in Europe, like medical device regulations, ISO, uh, International Organization for Standards 1348, we need to report. And here we have PMS plans and PS reports, which we need to report to the regulatory authorities of the countries. Okay. And periodic safety update report, I said it's done very periodically uh, when there is something like adverse events identified. Okay, the manufacturer or the regulatory authorities instruct the companies to have a periodic safety update report. Okay, or to have the pharmacovigilance and monitoring to understand or to see whether why these adverse events are happening, or there is risks that have been associated. Sometimes it could lead to mortality also. So these are with basically with the devices and drugs. Okay, and this has to be periodically submitted to the regulatory bodies, whatever may be the country. Okay, coming to the history of, I mean, this pharmacovigilance, the background or the history looks very heart touching. Uh, I mean, when you when you go back and we discuss about the pharmacovigilance, okay, and the formation of regulatory guidelines for pharmacovigilance, this goes back to way in 1961, okay, where there is almost a shock wave, or I could say a volcano that has happened in the mainly in the pharma sector in 1961, where a drug called thalidomide. Okay, thalidomide is a drug which is basically used for morning sickness in pregnant women. Okay, basically it's used in first trimester, in first 3 months. The morning sickness is something like where the pregnant women feel nausea and vomiting and some uneasiness because of the gonadotropins or hormonal imbalances. Okay, thalidomide, when introduced, it sold like hot cake. It happened, I mean, these were introduced in Germany for the first time, and by a company called Zunich. Uh, when these were introduced, a lot of pregnant women were taking, because this was really preventing the morning sickness. But as I said, like lakhs of pregnant women were taking in their first trimester when thalidomide was introduced. But later, after After a few days or after the third trimester, okay, after the pregnancy, when the new child was born or the infant was born, it was identified that he doesn't have, or the baby doesn't have limbs, okay, whether it's hands or feet, legs. He is born with lot of abnormalities, okay. They call it as phocomelia without limbs, and this happens in thousands of children, okay, in Germany, who are born limbless. This is called as thalidomide disaster, where whole world took attention of it, okay, and try to understand what is the relation between thalidomide and the deformities that happen. Okay, they could understand that this has affected the organogenesis of the embryo, okay, in the first trimester, and later it has come as phocomelia without, I mean, with deformities in the limbs. So there was a committee that was formed, headed by Dr. Strauss, who's a German pediatrician, and he would find a correlation with thalidomide and the infants born with limbs, deformities in limbs. So there was a direct correlation which he had established and said that this event happened because of the thalidomide, and the whole world looked at it is as a big disaster. And then in 1961, okay, the WHO came in as a, and they formed a body called International Drug Monitoring was initiated. And immediately in 1996, Europe has formed a body called Vigilance in Europe. Later US came in, okay, they formed the US FDA, mainly the CDRH, okay, which there were systems, okay, there were ways and means to report the adverse events. I don't want to discuss why this phocomelia or the deformities that happened for these children uh, happened in Germany because of thalidomide, because it takes a lot of time to understand that. But however, this was an eye opener for a lot of companies to look at the drug safety and to understand the pharmacovigilance. Of course, European Union's centralized database is the first one which has come out with the pharmacovigilance activities. Okay, like as I said, they do early detection of the safety signals, analyze the risk benefit evaluation of the medicines. They do it very early before the drug enters into the market. Okay, from their preclinical studies or the clinical studies, they identify the risk. Okay, then they monitor, they enter into their databases, and they also have the system of, I mean, naming that in the labels of the medicines. Okay, of course, all of us see that with our medicines, with our drugs, we get a lot of labels. I know most of us, we don't read the labels, but the labels are very important to understand what are the adverse events related, what are the side effects related with these drugs. Okay, and they have the authority to recall the medicines if there are adverse events more not able to correct. Okay, and restrict that medicines or the drugs for further use. Okay, and they have an harmonized reporting system aligned with ICH. There's a International Council for Harmonization, where E2B is the forum for reporting and complaining of that. Okay, I think you have understood why, what is the, I mean, spark that has made us to understand the pharmacovigilance, where it has occurred, and why these all the regulations have come in, okay, to put a stop to the adverse events and on the drug safety. So moving further, as of now, currently what's happening on pharmacovigilance, okay, mainly on the ADR reporting and case processing. This is what is happening in majority of the hospitals. Okay, how you do ADR reporting, adverse drug reaction reporting, and how you do the case processing. I'll proceed stepwise. Okay, first is the ADR collection. I mean, collection of the adverse events that are happening in various hospitals. It could be through various forms also, like say reports received from various sources, including healthcare professionals through hospitals, and patients can directly report to the regulatory bodies or to the hospitals that I have this adverse event. Okay, as I said earlier, even the clinical trials also, basically in phase 3 and phase 2, you can find uh, adverse events that are found with the new drugs. Okay, and also based on the literature survey. Okay, we can do the literature survey, whether it's the publications, research publications, or it could be the general articles or through peer reviews. Okay, where you can have spontaneous reporting systems. So ADR collection, adverse drug reactions collections, can happen as reports received from various sources. Okay, these all are combined, okay, and form a database. Before they are combined and made into a database, you have a case triage. Case triage is as you get the incoming reports. Okay, you need to understand that whether the incoming reports are assessed for their seriousness, okay, expedience and casualty, or whether you need to understand what is the seriousness of it, whether it is mild, moderate, okay, or very severe, or sometimes causing mortality. I could name some simple drugs like penicillins have caused anaphylaxis and mortality in a lot of patients. I mean, in good old days, even a drug like a very safe drug which we consider like Rantac or Ranitidine, which we use for acidity, is withdrawn from market because of the pharmacovigilance activities and ADR reporting, because on long run or long term usage it is causing cancer. And I can quote a lot of drugs as we proceed further. So case triage is to assess what is the seriousness of the adverse event. Okay, whether it's mild, moderate, or whether it's very serious that immediate action has to be taken, or the drug has to be recalled or withdrawn or stopped. And is it an new adverse event or an adverse event already reported with other drugs? Okay, there could be adverse events that could be reported earlier with other drugs, and there could be new adverse events that could be, I mean, reported with the new drugs that are, I mean, marketed or used. So case triage is the second step. Data entry and validations. Once you do the ADR collection, okay, from various resources, then you do the case triage, understand the seriousness of the adverse events, then you do the data entry and validate it. So the individual cases, it's not that you group up all the cases and do the case triage or understand it. Individual cases, or as we call it as case safety reports or case summary reports or case reports, I mean, in common language in hospitals we call it as case reports, are entered into a database. I'll talk about the database like Argus or RSG, and validated to ensure completeness and accuracy. When we say validation, it talks of whether you got all the parameters or all the data, all the reports, diagnosis parameter, including the diagnosis parameters, regime of medication, okay, the comorbid of the condition, the age of the condition, age of the patient, and of course the discharge summary of the patient if he is discharged. Okay, all that in a wholesome has to be entered into the database, whether it's Argus or RSG. Of late, our Cdisco in India also we have the database from Cdisco how to enter into this. Okay, but Europe and US have more advanced databases than us. Of course, we are improving on pharmacovigilance databases. So after data entry, we need to validate to ensure completeness and accuracy of the data. We should not miss any points, including simple age, maybe some risk associated with whether a smoker or non-smoker, whether he has obesity or not, because all these risks are associated with other pathological and other etiological factors. So we need to combine all this and enter into the database and validate it. And there is a medical coding. This is a good opportunity for those people who are searching for I mean, looking for avenues or searching for jobs in pharmacovigilance on medical coding, where you need to code these adverse events and the drugs, okay, Of course, we may report adverse events in different formats, like say, I have nausea and vomiting. What degree of nausea and vomiting? So there is an MEDRA called Medical Dictionary for Regulatory Authorities, where there will be codes for adverse events. Okay, we don't write them in our common language or our nomenclature or daily use language. Okay, these adverse events have the codes, so we need to do the medical coding in MEDRA. It's a medical dictionary for regulatory authorities. And drugs are code using standard drug dictionaries. Okay, there will be code for the adverse events, there will code for the drugs. So in the medical coding, you need to code the drug and you need to give codes for what are the adverse events for the particular drug, so that it becomes more harmonized in the database. Because of late, see, the medical device reporting or the pharmacovigilance reporting system has become so harmonized in all the countries. Okay, once you give the code of the drug, okay, and once you give the code of adverse events, it means that the whole world at the medical field understands it. It's not that you have to do it in your uh, common language, or use your own language, either in I mean, as you call it, as a common man's language or a layman's language. So it will be coded so that the database takes it, and it will be, circulated in all the databases worldwide in the pharmacovigilance form. And every country has the access to view the adverse events for the drugs, so that all the countries will become vigilant. Okay, of course, there will be casualty assessment. A scientific evaluation is done. Okay, a scientific evaluation, as I said, like what is the root cause for this adverse event? Okay, they look into the 5 ways. There is a system of addressing the root cause. Okay, from the ADM is absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion. Are there is any antibody reactions, hypersensitivity reactions? Okay, all considerations will be taken, okay, to scientifically evaluate the adverse event. Then only we'll understand whether the adverse event that is happening is because of the drug, or because of something else, or because of the interaction of the drug with some other medications, or age related problems, or some comorbidities. Okay, and for this we have WHO UMC, that is Parcel Monitoring Center. It's a centralized system which gives a scientific evaluation for the adverse events. Okay, then regulatory reporting. As I said, once you do the ADR collection, first step case triage, data entry validation, then you come out with the medical coding, then you have the casualty assessment, and end of the day, you need to report it to the regulatory authorities, whether it's CDSCO in India, or USFDA in America, or is it TGA in Australia, or is it Health Canada, HC Health Canada, or it could be EMEA, or European Medical Agency in Europe. You need to, with without any doubt, you need to report it to the regulatory authorities. If you are not reporting to the regulatory authorities, it is a non-compliance, okay, of pharmacovigilance activities which you are doing. So reporting to the regulatory authority is very, very important. I hope you understood the steps and the process in steps in ADR reporting and case processing. Okay, and as I said, there are a lot of regulatory authorities in each country. There are regulatory authorities. In India, we have CDSCO. Okay, CDSCO takes up this section of pharmacovigilance. Of course, they also monitor a lot of other activities, but pharmacovigilance is also taken by Indian Pharmacopoeial Commission (IPC) and Pharmacovigilance Program of India, where you have, as the digitalization has come over, there is a very smart way of reporting the adverse events through online. We have online systems available in India and CDSCO. Of course, they are available in all developed countries. So you can report them online, or you can report to the hospital online. And as I say, of late, CDSCO has come up with a very novel online networking system, and has the database for the adverse event reporting and on the pharmacovigilance. Of course, as I said, the European Medical Agency is the first who has started this because of the thalidomide disaster. Okay, that's we call EMA. And I was speaking about the USFDA also, the Food and Drug Administration, basically the CDRH, okay, Center for Radiological Health and Narcotics. Okay,
Sorry
MHA
to
is
interrupt you, sir. We truly appreciate your in-depth discussion, but to manage the session timings effectively, I request you to briefly summarize your concluding
yeah.
points.
Give me another 5 minutes. I'll do it.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have MHRA in UK. Okay, and WHO. Like the World, World Health Organization, Health Canada. I spoke. ICH. It's international. Okay, Commission for Organization Harmonization. Okay, signal detection and risk management. I said signal detection is the identification of the risk, whether it could be serious, mild, moderate. Okay, then you have a lot of data sources for entry into the uh, uh, systems. Okay, whatever the adverse events, you can do it by qualitative methods and quantitative assessments based on the seriousness of the adverse event. And signal validation and prioritization, as I said, once you detect the adverse event, you need to prioritize based on the severity of it, and you should have the risk management plans to overcome the risks or the hazards or the adverse events, how you are going to overcome the risks. Okay, and the regulatory communication, as I said, end of the day we need to report it to the regulatory authorities. Okay, risk management is very important in pharmacovigilance. See, identification, first we identify the hazards. I said like all hazards may not turn to risks or adverse events, but prime most important is identify the hazards, risk identification. Okay, once you identify the adverse event, you need to evaluate it, analyze it, and try to find a way to mitigate the risk. Okay, how you are going to mitigate the risk or adverse event, and at the end you need to understand whether the risk is accepted. Okay, still I can keep the drug into the market with allowed risk. Okay, I have some nausea and vomiting. Is it okay to keep the drug into the market? That will be decided by the regulatory authorities, and we'll come out with the risk management plan. Okay, this is the plan for identification, evaluation, analysis, mitigation, and risk acceptance. And there will be black box warnings which we need to see. Okay, when we are taking the drugs, because the regulatory authorities, if there are any adverse events still persisting on the drugs and the drugs are still in the market, they give the black box warnings and medication guidelines. Okay, these are some of the monitoring tools. I really appreciate Oracle Argus Safety because this is a very robust system, end-to-end safety. Of course, Cdisco also uses Argus safety system. Argis G is there. Okay, it's also similar to Oracle Argus. Then we have WHO the monitoring tools like Vigiflow, and Medra is, I said, it's a medical dictionary for regulatory activities. Okay, Europe has their own tools. We call UDRA, Vigilance Data for Analysis Systems. Okay, and before I conclude, these are very important things for medical writing in PVA. Either you do this first is the scientific documentation where we do the protocols, investigator brochures, okay, and regulatory submissions. Okay, that is scientific writing which we give it to the doctors or the physicians who are taking pharmacovigilance studies. Then the regulatory writing is something we write when we are submitting it to the regulatory bodies. Safety and PV writing is, as I said, it could be PSU or PMCF or even the pharmacovigilance reports. Publication writing is something we have the adverse events. Okay, we collect the data and we do publish in journals, peer-reviewed journals, international journals, so that it will be an open access and many doctors or the hospitals have the access to read about the adverse events that are happening through publications. Okay, as I said, end of the day, we should have the audits or the inspections from the regulatory bodies like the Cdisco, where Mr. Suraj can brief on this, on the good documentation practices, because when they come for the audit or inspection in the pharmacovigilance, They look at all these SOPs, whether you have version controls or templates, whether you followed GDP, good documentation practices. Okay, to really identify that this is an adverse event that is happening because of the drug. Okay, that is will be decided by the during the audit and by the regulatory authorities. Okay, either they give a final call to recall the drug or to place in the market or to withdraw the drug completely out. Okay. Okay, these are, I mean, the drugs which I felt like these are one of the safest drugs which I have used and many people have seen them using, but they have been withdrawn from the market. And most important is the codeine, like it's a derivative of codeine for used as a cough suppressant, but it caused anaphylactic shock and also death in many patients. Were withdrawn in 2023. And perhaps the most used drug, I mean, OTC drug, over the counter drug, is the ranitidine. We call it as Zantac. Okay, used for ulcers or heartburns, but it seems to have a carcinogenic effect. And the other drug is which has reported to have high cancer risk is Bilviq, which is used for obesity or weight loss. Okay, there are list of lot of drugs. I said almost 135 drugs have been withdrawn from the market yesterday by our own regulatory authority, CDSCO. Okay, there are a lot of carriers. You can call me because our company does a lot of pharmacovigilance and MDF for medical devices. Uh, so there are a lot of job opportunities, career responsibilities, growth opportunities, and there is global scope, as I said, like because all the pharmacovigilance activities are harmonized. It's not that India does some PV, US does some PV, or Europe does some. All are harmonized. Now we have all standards. Okay, single standard that's there. So you have global scope. If you have done pharmacovigilance in India, there's a scope for us to enter into the global competition. Okay, the future, I mean, Suraj will discuss with you on digital transformation and automation. Of course, the ethical and regulatory considerations are very, very important when you come out with an adverse event, reporting to the regulatory bodies to withdraw the drug or to keep it in the market. Okay, and the key takeaways are pharmacovigilance ensures drug safety. Regulatory compliance is very, I mean, this is very crucial for me. Regulatory compliance is very crucial. Okay, and future relies on AI, automation, and patient engagement. Okay, of course, AI is taking over the PV. This domain, pharmacovigilance domain, is also under the control of artificial intelligence and the reporting system, the patient engagement. All these are very important, and I thank Biotechnica and of course the audience. I'm very sorry for rushing through the slides because I know like half an hour is very short time, and I also taken 5-10 minutes more. I thank Biotechnica, of course, Tanushree, Shreya, and others for giving me this opportunity, and thank you all audience for listening to me.
Thank you so much, sir, for the session. So I'm sure our audience is really has learned a lot of new things today, and thank you for the wonderful insights on the topic. And now I request Mr. Suraj to please continue with the session. Please start with this session.
Yeah.
Over to you, sir.
Can you see now? Yeah. I will just share my screen and confirm whether it is visible or not. And thank you, Dr. Sagar sir. It was really insightful discussion which we had, and many memories of pharmacovigilance has been refreshed, which I had previously. So, good evening, everyone. So, I am Suraj. So, you might be knowing that I am a drug inspector and medical device officer. Already, Tanushree ma'am has introduced me, and I'm currently working in the drug control department, government of NCT of Delhi, and I closely work with CDSU as well, and we go on various operation inspection raids to various firms, whether it's drug manufacturing or medical device inspection or the lab or various other aspects. But at present, the topic which I am covering, it is not in that aspect. Maybe in some other time, I will be dealing in that topic. Apart from this, I have other experiences that I am a research scholar. Currently, I am doing my research in the field of computational biology. Specifically, I am developing computational machine learning models to detect cancer causing mutations. And in the biotechnology department from IIT Madras, I have served approximately 1 year in as assistant professor in Adams University, Kolkata, and I have worked in the field of pharmacovigilance as scientific and medical writer. As Dr. Sagar has already mentioned about E2B form and the signal processing ICSR, those things I used to process in during May 2020 to April 2021 at Springer Nature. So I was closely involved in those kind of scenario in job prospects. So I have vast amount of experience in those aspects. So before starting ahead, so I will quickly refresh you about pharmacovigilance. As you know that it is the end-to-end process in pharmacovigilance from data collection to reporting adverse event. Already sir has explained about adverse event, especially to regulatory authorities. So whenever a drug which is there in the market after the clinical trial, that is phase 3, it needs to be monitored properly at any point of time. It is if it is showing any kind of adverse reaction, it needs to be reported, and that report needs to be submitted by the company, manufacturing company, or the people who are dealing with this patient care. Like if you remember, if you know that in Europe there is yellow card system where the patient can write the adverse reaction if they are suffering, and even there are pharmacovigilance center which is going to be operating almost all the government hospital, other hospitals, and data has been captured by this company, and later it has been forwarded to various regulatory authorities, and later on the regulatory authorities will take action. If it is very much serious adverse effect, then it will be recalled from the market. And Sir had already mentioned about the thalidomide tragedy. It is what you can say nightmare for humanity, because that thalidomide, that drug was earlier used to give during the morning sickness of the pregnant women. That drug leads to the deterioration of the fetus, growing fetus, due to which what happened was the limbs of the fetus, that is hands and legs, were not able to develop properly. That time the role of pharmacovigilance came into picture. Okay, so this is the overall idea of the pharmacovigilance. Okay, that is data collection, that then a technical person who will be assessing the case, especially the pharmacovigilance associate, they will be processing the case and they will be filling various data forms, regulatory forms like E2B form. E2B form is there as per the regulatory guidelines. I also used to fill the E2B form. It is a long page document where we have to fill lots of data. That is the other aspect. When you are going to get training under this pharmacovigilance, you will be taught in that way. So just in simple word, you understand that if any side effect is being observed in the market, it will be assessed first by a medical practitioner, and then it will be processed by a technical person, and then it will be submitted to the regulatory authority for the further action. Okay, and generally the regulatory authority already mentioned by Sir was like for US is USFDA, for Europe it is EMA, for Australia it is TGA, for India it is CDSCO. Like that, various countries have their own regulatory authorities. Now, I am coming into the picture of artificial intelligence. So why I took this topic, because you might be knowing about the emerging of artificial intelligence. I think everybody of you have recently been using this Ghibli style images. Similarly, ChatGPT is there, Bard AI, which is now Gemini, and apart from that, there is other tools like in the X also they have incorporated the AI tools which can read your and can understand and can respond to your queries and everything. Okay, so artificial intelligence, by or hook or crook, it is going to get involved in almost all the field. So this pharmacovigilance field, which is also going to be automated in the upcoming era. Okay, so you need to have the idea of artificial intelligence. So before going deep into artificial intelligence, for making you understand which aspect this AI can get implemented, I would like to take you further. So, so I will be asking you that who got the Nobel Prize in chemistry this year? Not this year, means that in 2024. So I am hoping some answer in the chat box. Tanishq ma'am, can you please check if anybody have answered? Anyways,
Checking.
yeah.
Sure.
So this is just a reference white I am taking on. So the Nobel Prize
I
of
think
Chemistry.
they don't have any idea about it, sir. You please continue.
Okay, fine, fine. I have kept it. Why I have kept it, I will tell you the reason later on. So in the Nobel Prize of Chemistry is won by these three people: David Baker, Demis Hassabis, and John Jumper. Demis Hassabis and John Jumper, they both are working in the Google DeepMind, and they have developed AlphaFold, which is again an artificial intelligence architecture which can predict protein structure. Even David Baker, sir, so the professor under which I am working in currently research, he is the collaborator of Baker, and he already visited our lab when I was in IIT Madras doing my research in that area. So I know this field quite in details. So I will be taking you that part as well. So the people got who got this Nobel Prize, they are extensively using machine learning, deep learning, and this artificial intelligence. And finally, the people, if you see the research of it, even the science journal, nature journal, people are using AlphaFold structure. Okay, what is AlphaFold? So AlphaFold came into picture like every 2 years there is a competition which happens all over the globe. Okay, that is known as CAST. CAST competition happens to predict the structure of a protein. So various groups comes in and they take part and they try to predict the protein structures. Okay, and you will be surprised to know that this AlphaFold 2 specifically in 2021, it was able to predict the protein structure from the given sequence. Let me take the pointer. Yeah, from the given sequence is what it was able to predict 80 to 90% of the structures correctly. After that, AlphaFold 3 came, and you will be seeing in the research paper people are using extensively this uh, AlphaFold generated structures. And what you are seeing in between this very haphazard thing, I think as a biologist it is difficult to understand. But maybe in the next session or some other session, I might take this AlphaFold, how what is the architecture for understanding this part as well. So generally what happens is it is taking the information from the genetic database, it is putting into this algorithm where it will be we will be putting the sequences in the multiple sequence alignment, and it will go for a thorough pairing with various known protein structure, and from there it will generate certain templates. And this Evo former block, if you are seeing, it is nothing but the deep learning based architecture which will be which is written in the mathematical code, and it will be generating certain sequence of code due to which it will be read by the structure module, and it will be repeated in multiple alignment, and it will be generating the final structure. And it was found that this algorithm which they are using, it is able to predict the protein structure correctly up to 80 to 90%. So you can imagine that how science has evolved from the protein structure detection with the use of electron microscopy, with the use of X-ray crystallography, with the use of cryo-EM. These are the techniques which require huge amount of time and labor, and it is very much sophisticated instrument. But now in seconds, if you give in the AlphaFold website, if you go and give the protein sequence, it will go and run this algorithm, and it will generate the protein structure based on the given databases. Okay, so it is not so easy. Earlier, if you are isolating one protein, isolation itself is a tedious task. After isolation, decoding the protein from various instrumentation techniques, it will take like years to solve one protein structure. Like for crystallization also, it takes years to crystallize one protein structure. So they have solved many problems. That's why they got Nobel Prize this year. Okay, they have solved a very crucial problem. Now coming to the point of artificial intelligence in pharmacovigilance. Okay, so there are various aspects where this AI thing, or maybe you guys in future can take up this, or you can develop certain things. Okay, but what aspects it can touch, AI can touch in pharmacovigilance sector? Because I personally work in this sector, and I personally work on AI algorithms and machine learning things, so I can understand which parts are basically going to get touched in this area. So as you know that pharmacovigilance involves detection, then assessment, and then understanding and prevention of the adverse drug effect, right? This is there. So the core activity is the signal detection. Signal detection means from the reports, if a side effect has been known from the report, then from the trials, clinical trials, or in the post-marketing surveillances from the real world. So this are the signal which has been captured. So this signal then is assessed and then understand if the adverse effect is very much serious or it is very much dangerous, then the drug is being called from the market. Okay. So how AI enhances the signal detection? You have to understand that. First of all, with the automation you can web scrap the data from the all over the websites. Okay, that is data mining and pattern recognition. If you write 2 pages of code, then the code will run automatically and it will go various websites or Google searches or various other, what you can say, websites where the databases are there. It will capture the data and can easily do the automatic work instead of relying on a human being. So it can analyze huge data set within short span of time. It can include spontaneous reports, EHRs, clinical trial, and from social media as well. If people are posting their drug reactions in the social media, because nowadays, if you know, sometimes in counterfeit medicines also playing a role. Like people, like there are criminal-minded people who will, because of the money, they are doing this thing. For that reason, also the drug is not treating the patient, and as well as it is causing adverse reaction. That is also a problem. Okay, so regulatory authorities are doing their best to do that. That is the other part. Then there is a detecting hidden patterns linking to drug exposure to the adverse events. So this hidden pattern comes into picture as it, if you are taking a drug, okay, you know that that drug is going to act on particular disease. It might be possible that the other ingredient or it may interact with other proteins of our body and can have a network interaction and can lead to some adverse effect. Okay, so this data can help us to identify the drug or the class of drug, what kind of adverse effect it can produce. Okay. Apart from this, the machine learning algorithms, the natural language processing. This natural language processing is also the trending field now. It is again beyond like ChatGPT, which you are chatting and asking the questions, and it is answering. This is nothing but the natural language processing. Now the time will come where the pharmacovigilance people will be typing the questions and it will be giving the accurate answer, the process data, everything. So this is also going to be emerging field. It is beyond AI also, natural language processing. So it will automatically generate the process things. So generally, it will extract the insight from the unstructured data, especially case narratives. Okay. So this case narrative, what it is there, because I personally used to work in stranger nature. So I used to prepare this case narrative from the adverse drug event for the publication or for their safety reporting. Apart from E2B, there are various other aspects as well. These are the things which can be done automated, because I was myself was involved in this case narrative. So I kept this example. Real-time monitoring, AI enables continuous safety surveillance, supporting early signal detection. NLP, as I already told you, it extracts drug name easily. It can extract the event description, what had happened to the patient, what drugs he took, and what kind of interactions might have happened. Everything can be extracted. Even the MEDRA can be automated by utilizing the few lines of code. So MEDRA, as Sir had already explained, it is a medical dictionary for the regulatory authorities. So I used to use it extensively while processing any case. We used to report it. So generally we used to refer this. So all the forms have the licensed version of it. So you will be, once you are joining the department of pharmacovigilance, you will be have the access of the MEDRA. Okay. Once the signal is detected, the AI can prioritize the signal, whether it is if the adverse reaction is a severe in nature or it is very less relevant. Okay. So it can evaluate that as well. Causality prediction. The ML model, machine learning model, have two kinds of things. It can one predict or it can classify. For prediction, it will use the regression algorithms. Okay. So if a drug which is came into the market based on its predecessors, like a drug is there, if it is belonging to a other one class of drug, whose other drug which is similar in chemical nature, if it is showing some adverse reaction, what is the tendency of this new drug causing this what you can say adverse reaction. The ML can use certain sets of data set, okay, that is the descriptors to predict this thing. So one need to develop the ML model to find the hidden patterns. The people from computational background, they can do easily. So actually I was doing those things, that's why I am telling you. So one can do it. So if you are learning this Python code or machine learning, so you can develop certain models which can easily predict the likeliness of a drug to cause adverse reaction or not. So the benefits of AI in pharmacovigilance, it will enhance the efficacy, efficiency, accuracy. It will reduce the manual workload, and it will, what you can say, do tasks of huge load. Okay, and it will promote the proactive risk management system. There are limitations in the AI, as you know that artificial intelligence or machine learning or whether deep learning, it all depends on data. If the quality of data is not proper, then the performance might get hampered. Performance means if it is predicting a correct data incorrectly, if it is predicting incorrect data correctly, then that is a problem. Okay, so data quality is of utmost important. So the model on which you are training this AI model, okay, on the data, its quality needs to be proper. So generally, the interpretability of the AI model is called black box because it will incorporate certain sets of mathematical formulas and algorithms. Okay, this is actually beyond the human intelligence because the mathematics people, it is the concept of AI earlier used to happen in the mathematics. Then it came into science, and later on, this algorithm gets incorporated in this AI model, whether we are using the for prediction. Even the ethical and privacy concerns are there, like patient data handling. If it is not proper, if AI, okay, it needs to be comply with the strict privacy laws, because the data leakage, if it happens, then it may create the data breach and can hamper the patients or the person whose identity has been revealed. System integration, legacy system compatibility issues increase implementation of the complexity. So conclusion, I would like to say that AI is revolutionizing signal management with faster, more accurate and predictive capabilities. That means AI can revolutionize this PV domain with respect to the, it will be faster than human, it will be more accurate, and the predictive capability, it has the predictive capabilities. So to unlock its full potential, we need to have a proper data quality, we need to be transparent, or regulatory alignment needs to be updated, because in the upcoming era, the regulatory body also needs people from computational background to frame the rules in this aspect. And I would like to give one example, like in the UPSC interview, the interviewer who was the retired DCVI, he asked me what is the future. Means I told that in US FDA recently in the last year 2024, in around September, they approved first uh, AI algorithm which can detect the severity of this depression and anxiety by checking the pupil size. It get dilated by checking the facial expression, how it is changed. From that, it can assess the facial expression in pupil size. It can say that what degree of this thing anxiety or depression is there a patient suffering, and it has been approved by US FDA. So future is AI. So apart from this, the AI, I would like to cover some more topics like pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine. As you know that each individual have minor, or you can say at the genetic level, little differences. Maybe some people can have a good solving capability of, I mean, if they are taking a drug, it is possible that that drug is uh, correcting that disease in that particular person, but the same drug in that same quantity is not able to correct the person who is living in Jammu Kashmir or some other areas like in Europe. Okay, so every genome is different. So we can optimize by learning this pharmacogenomics. Pharmacogenomics means it combines pharmacology and genomics, and it will help us to understand how genes affect the drug response. It generally helps to predict the drug metabolism, how it is metabolized, how it is effective in our body, and what are the risk of a side effect. Specifically, they are using the network pharmacology concept as well. One can optimize the therapy for a particular patient who is suffering from certain disease and he is already having some other comorbid condition like hypertension, diabetes. As you know that in every disease condition, if there is more than one or two diseases, then there is a possibility of a drug can interact with more than one disease and there will be chaos. So if you are able to optimize this therapy by understanding their pharmacology and genomic pattern of a person, you can tailor the drugs for that particular dosage for that genetic profile. So people are working in this area. It will have fewer adverse effects. It will improve the outcome of the treatment. And real world example, drug metabolism variants people are doing in this area. Even they are reducing the adverse reaction by this pharmacogenomics concept. The big challenge in India is the cost and access, the regulatory and ethical challenge, because we are developing countries, right? So we are advancing towards that area. So yeah, bringing this new rules and regulations needs proper channel. Like the new rules will be framed, then that rule needs to be passed in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, then by the president, and after debate, then only this will come. This regulatory challenge will always be there to implement any law and rule. Future outlook advances in genomics and AI driven analysis will help us to mitigate this problem, and we will have a better treatment policies. Role of social media. As you know that we all are covered with the social media, right? Like we are using Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, everywhere. Every time we are posting certain things. Even people who are suffering from certain adverse drug reaction, they are posting on the this social media. So that can be used for the real-time monitoring system for the adverse drug reaction. Even diverse group of patients who from various demographic location, it can capture the real-world experience across various demographics. Even it is from social media, it is a boon also, it is a bad also. Okay, for boon for pharmacovigilance in this areas that we will get lots of data for AI or for the sake of the safety purpose of the human population. It will enhance the understanding of the safety and adherence to the drug. Then crowdsourcing and sentimental analysis. So it will have a gather public perception and hidden safety issues. Like certain drugs are there, if you know that the capsule, the outer cover, it is made of gelatin and it is some non-veg material, it is made from the bones, right? So there are some religious beliefs. So that particular crowd or that particular area where people are living, they are not taking the capsule medicine. Then what is the option? Then we can go for the capsule which is made up of what you can say the herbal things. From the seaweed, there I have learned during my B.Pharm days. From the seaweed also the capsule cells are made. So like this alternatives can be done, or it can be formulation can be changed, anything can be done. Real world evidence compliance, clinical trial data for safety. These are the general topics. I think you will have the screenshot or in YouTube available, so you can take screenshot. Challenges, I will again say that data privacy is a problem. The wrong information can also spread. Data quality and validation, regulatory ethical compliances. I already told you that in India, especially, it needs to pass on various steps. Language interpretation barriers require advanced NLP and multilingual tools. So NLP, as I already told you, it is a natural language processing algorithm. It is also one of the form of AI. So if a people who are living in various parts of India, so everybody speaks different languages. Okay. So interpretation of different language, multilingual model development, it requires huge amount of different money, machines and everything. So these are the barriers and challenges which needs to be overcome. Tools in use, social media monitoring, patient forms and apps. Even there are companies who are developing apps for this side effects for the direct patient to doctor talk if the patient is suffering from any disease or anything. These are the general topics. Then support program. Then future directions are AI ML integration. If you are able to integrate this in the this pharmacovigilance sector, so it will automate the detection and trend analysis. And the people with the mindset of PV, pharmacovigilance, who are going to, they will have an edge if we are being trained like basic training of AI and ML. They can directly incorporate, because in the future many things which have been done currently in the pharmacovigilance sector, it can be automated, because I myself have seen many things changing. System integration, collaborative framework, academia, industry, and regulatory partnership needs to be done properly, because in India that is there is a problem because synchronization is not happening. Okay. So finally, I would like to tell you that overall I have discussed a lot of topic. Okay, in this short span of time, I think I might have taken a little more time. I have talked about pharmacovigilance, artificial intelligence, chemistry, Nobel Prize, and AlphaFold. Why I have done it? Because if AI tool can when get incorporated in the science, and they develop certain algorithms which got the Nobel Prize. So AI can reverse many things. AI, even I will tell you, in physics also, the machine learning developers got the Nobel Prize in physics also this time. Two AI and machine learning things they have got: signal detection, prioritization, risk assessment, pharmacogenomics, and personalized medicine. And role of social media, patient report data, and pharmacovigilance tool trends, and future of social media and TV. So these are the topics which I have covered. Maybe in the future, I might be taking certain session. I will be asking Shreya or other team members of Biotechnica who have helped me to conduct this session. So these are the acknowledgement section where I would like to thank my department, Drug Control Department, Government of NCT Delhi, IT Madras, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, Mr. Shekhar Sumant sir, CEO and co-founder of Biotechnica, who is enlightening the or bridging the gap between the academia and the professional work culture. I mean, they are training the young minds to be better leaders. Miss Shreya, for connecting with me over the LinkedIn and guiding me through. Dr. Tanushi for this session, and by other biotechnical team. Finally, my family, friends, and alumni. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, I learned. I along with sir, like to take some question at the end. Thank you. I will stop in this.
Thank you so much, Suraj sir, for your insightful session. Now I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Kaushik. So Kaushik sir, over to you. Please share your insights with us.
Thank you so much. I hope my screen is visible to you. So
Yes, it is visible.
I would like to thank Dr. Vidya Sagar sir and Suraj Shah for their wonderful information and insight regarding the pharmacovigilance domain and its current trends. And the topic which was very exciting and it was very refreshing. And as at the beginning of the webinar, as Dr. Vidya Sagar sir said that the pharmacovigilance is a vast topic and it cannot be discussed in an hour. So keeping that in mind, I'll be discussing today about career aspects and job opportunities in pharmacovigilance. Uh, so if you look at the picture, the current global pharmacovigilance market is expected to grow by 18.6 billion by the end of 2032 at an annual growth rate of 9.3%. And there are many significant factors that were contributing to this growth. One such factor is that increased innovation in the drug development and expanding global trade of pharma companies. Increased innovation in drug development is nothing but incorporating new technologies in drug development and increased funding by the pharmaceutical companies in R&D. And apart from that, a globalization of pharma companies for better revenue and to enhance the market of the current ongoing countries and other countries as well. And these were the few factors which were contributing the growth in the PV and the global pharmacovigilance market. And apart from that, due to this globalization and the increased global footprints of pharma companies, and also the changing aspect of regulatory guidelines and regulatory aspect of certain drugs and certain medicines, the all pharmaceutical companies were planning to give this work for outsourcing. It was already happening now, and it is expected to grow on an exponential basis in the coming future, and which led to the which led to the increase in the rising number of contract research organizations throughout the world and globally, and this increase was completely fueled by the increase in market of globalization in the pharmaceutical companies, and also to uh, other cost-effective and cost-reductive measures from the pharmaceutical companies, and also innovations currently happening in the market and in the PV domain. And now I'll be discussing few pharmacovigilance hiring trends and roles in focus. And coming to the pharmacovigilance hiring trends and in roles in focus, there are many roles that will that were happening in the industry, and it differs from the company and to the CROs as well. The CROs as well, and it depends upon the role where the CROs are established and where the job description prefers it. And there are many roles involved in pharmaceutical companies as well, and they keep on changing on a regular basis due to the merging and also due to the acquisitions happening within the pharmaceutical industry, and also due to the increased rise in CROs the roles might change, and also due to the innovation that were happening in the market, like automation, incorporation of many new tools for the literature search and also for the case processing. Due to all these factors, there are changes in the roles, but the conventional roles which which normally you see in the market are like drug safety associate, medical writer, patient safety officer, pharmacovigilance analyst, medical reviewer, data analyst, aggregate report writer, narrative writer, and clinical safety scientist. These were the few roles which were currently hiring in the market, and these are all like more conventional, more traditional roles which were in the PV market for so long. And among these roles, medical review and data analyst are the role which were primarily dominated by the doctor, physicians, dentist, and all the homeopathic doctors as well, and which completely deal with the case causality or case review of any ICSR. And apart from saying that, and I can and things might change as well. These roles might disappear in the coming future as well, or or there might be many changes to these roles as well. They might add new role and they might change this role, and they might shift the gender or shift the job responsibility based upon the current trend and the requirement of the client of pharmaceutical companies. But on a general basis, these were the roles traditionally or hired by the companies on a regular basis. And now I'll be discussing that major industries involved in the pharmacovigilance. As our co-speakers, Dr. Vidya Sagar sir and Dr. Shah has been already discussed about the things that were involved in pharmacovigilance and all the new automations and all the tools that were being used happening in the industry. There are primarily the industry is dominated by pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies like Pfizer, Novartis, Sanofi, Merck, and also like in Indian pharmaceutical companies like Dr. Reddy's, Aurobindo, Divi's, and many generic pharmaceutical companies as well. And also apart from that, CROs, clinical research organizations like IQVIA, Syneos Health, Paraxon, Icon PLC. So these were just an examples of the CROs which were primarily there in this PV domain from the start of the domain. Apart from these CRO, there are many global CROs which were rising on a regular basis due to the increased demand in the automation and due to changes in the regulatory aspects as well. And apart from the CRO, the regulatory others are also involved in this pharmacovigilance domain, because whenever you process a case, or you submit a approval, or you submit a drug, or you get into you get into a field, and you need to do any things related to pharmacovigilance, or you need to get the approvals related to the drugs, or any safety risk benefit assessment. These regulatory agencies are the one who are responsible for dealing with all these things, and it differs from the countries, and it differs globally as well. And for Europe, primarily they follow EMA, and for US FDA, and for MHRA for UK, and for India we normally follow CDSCO, which is the major organization responsible for approval of the drugs in India. And apart from all these three, we also have pharmacovigilance unit in some medical colleges and hospitals. This was not the new trend. We already have many pharmacovigilance units in hospitals and colleges in India, like JSS Medical College as him. There will be a dedicated unit situated in the hospitals and the colleges, where you can go there, and a dedicated team assigned to that team as well, where you can discuss anything related to the PV, or you can report any event or any details related to PV. You can report to them, and which were primarily deals with VP pharmacovigilance and all the details regarding to it. And few of the examples are like JSS Medical College and All India Institute of Medical Sciences AIMS. So these were the major industries that were involved in pharmacovigilance. These might change because of the ongoing trends, like many new players will come into effect, like many software companies, or many new drug development companies, or many any new AI revolutionary companies. They might come into the effect as well. But apart from all those things, these four are the major industry that were involved in pharmacovigilance since the beginning of the domain. So now let's discuss the career growth and scope of the domain. As we have already discussed that the drug development industry is going exponentially at a rate of annual growth rate of 9.3%, and by the end of 2032 it might reach like 18.5 billion. that growth has to be contributed with lot of manpower, and it requires a lot of manpower, and apart from that, a lot of talent and a lot of training has to be incorporated into this growth, which is also one of the scope and one of the scope of the domain, because there is a large gap between the growth and the growth rate and the current current ongoing crisis, current ongoing trends that are happening. And also the new innovations field like introduction of AI tools, automation in pharma, as we already discussed in by our previous sub speaker Suraj, the importance of AI and automation in pharma. It was already happening in the pharma, in the PV domain as well. There are many tools which were currently using by many pharmaceutical companies like GSK and Sanofi in their literature search, which is one of the doing the literature, which is one of the part of the pharmacovigilance, and like case triage and case submissions and signal management. And there are many pulling of any data set for any validating any new signals. Already AI and automation has been incorporated in the field, and there is also many shift happening. The new innovations and many major shifts were happening because of this introduction of AI tools and automation in pharma, and also lack of trained professional clinical research and drug development process. And if you look at the growth and the new innovation that happened at the pace in the PV, it's like predominantly at a very fast track and a fast pace. And due to in order to contribute to that growth and in order to contribute to that new innovation, and we globally we need a lot of talent and a lot of trained professional has to be a lot of trained professional has to be trained here, in order to manage that growth. If you look at the current curriculum of many colleges or current curriculum of many colleges in India or any globally, the curriculum is completely different from what really happening in the real world. And if any students or any people who wants to come into the domain, they are not aware of the current trends and current situation that were happening in the domain. So it's very important for the training. All the professionals who are interested to come into the domain, they have to be trained properly, due to this new innovations and any new drug development, and and also this introduction of automation and NLP, like NLP tools. And there are many automation and many innovations are happening, due to which the training has to be properly given. And also due to the increased awareness of among the public and also government globally about the safety of the medicine after the COVID-19 pandemic. And before the COVID-19 pandemic, the pharmacovigilance happening on a general pace, like people report the adverse event, we normally enter the data and we people capture it, and the reporting generally goes on a normal and smooth manner. But once COVID pandemic has started, everything has changed. The change globally, the regulatory authorities bombarded with many requests, bombarded with approvals, bombarded with all the adverse event or all the issues that were happening in the current market because of the COVID-19 vaccine, and which made the global local governments or all the country governments, which came to aware that they need some innovation and they need some funding that has to be sent into that R&D in many pharmaceuticals. So the government started noting these things during the COVID-19 pandemic, and they started investing in R&D and in many pharmaceutical R&D, and also encouraging many also encourage local students or all the local pharmaceutical company to innovate more and to spend more in R&D by giving subsidies, by giving all the exemptions, and also fast tracking the regulatory approvals, which led to the increased growth in pharmacovigilance, where as we can see now, like using many tools and continuous change in the current regulatory aspects, which were fast tracked after this COVID-19 pandemic, and it's already going on a high pace. Apart from the traditional roles in PV domain, there are also other roles which we normally outlook them, and we are not which most of the people are not aware of those roles which normally happen in regulatory agencies, like pharmacovigilance auditor, pharmacovigilance QA assessor, and pharmacovigilance assessor. Pharmacovigilance auditor is nothing but conducting a regular daily or regular audits on a pharmacovigilance departments and pharmacovigilance pharmacovigilance department, like whether the department is going as per plan, whether the team is following the PSMF for all the guidelines as specified by the regulatory authorities, whether the company is in compliance with the SOP that were drawn under that were written, and whether it was doing all the works that is mentioned in their SOPs, and it is compliant with the regulatory authorities or not. These things will be done by the auditor. And coming to the pharmacovigilance QA, quality assurance associate, the quality assurance associate will help in planning of audits, and also creating SOPs, and also reviewing SOPs, and also helping the people and PV team or pharmacovigilance team in training and training and their other aspects, like planning a kappa, and also many other aspects of training, and also overseeing all the activities of all the people involved in the pharmacovigilance department and the pharmacovigilance team. All these things were done by pharmacovigilance quality assurance associate. And also another role which was primarily held by the regulatory agencies, like pharmacovigilance assessor. Normally this was called as assessor in EMA, and globally the name differs in a different manner. Some people will call patient analyst or patient support analyst, and in other areas it is called audit assessor or PV assessor. But the main objective and the role where pharmacovigilance assessor perform is he will assess the report that was submitted by the pharmaceutical companies, assess the risk benefit balance of the drug, whether the risk outweigh the benefits that happen, and whether they check whether the drug is completely safe for the patients to be used, or whether you can give approval or not. All these things will be assessed by the assessor. So which was these were the few roles which were not traditionally found. It has to be a traditional word, but still we can go into them. We can enter into these roles by just checking the regulatory agency pages and regulatory agency websites on a daily basis, just to by going into the career portals, or by checking the roles, and you can directly mail them asking for any references, or you can ask or references, or all you can submit your project as well, whether you have any done in PBV. All this can be done in pharmacovigilance as well. So these were the primary roles that were happening in the domain. Apart from this, these roles might change on any time, like because of the automation and current AI tools that were happening. One such thing is, like, previously there used to be a literature screening in every industry, and every pharmaceutical industry, and every CRO industry, which were primarily done by people, and there are the dedicated team allocated to that literature screening. But now many pharmaceutical companies and pharmaceutical major MNCs incorporated automation into the literature screening, due to which due to which the literature screening specialist, the role which were primarily used in the screening of literature, has been deleted or has been withdrawn from many companies due to this automation. And like that, there are many roles which might change, or which might differ due to this current changes in automation and AI. Even though there are significant changes in PV industry, currently the PV domain is undergoing a paragliding shift in many ways. Like, the industry itself is incorporating many AI tools and automation, due to which the EMA, the FDA have requested us, have also started reviewing guidelines to incorporate AI and automation into the industry. Uh, Once that guidelines come into effect from the EMA or USFDA or any regulatory agencies, these roles might change, and also it will also increase the growth, and also increase the scope of the domain, and in many ways. Even though the automation and AI, everything we have discussed, everything we have seen in this domain, but there is one factor that is keeping away. It's like a human factor, and in this pharmacovigilance, you cannot go away completely from the human factor which is involved, which is because all these things which were in pharmacovigilance was involved with drug safety and patient safety, which is the foremost aspect of pharmacovigilance. So either someone has to monitor it. You cannot completely rely on AI automation just because of automation, because there has to be a human factor in this PV domain, so which we cannot completely ignore it. But saying that, there is definitely a great career scope and great growth happening in the PV industry. People who wants to come into the PV industry or who are planning to come into the PV industry, I would sincerely request to research the current trends that are happening in the industry, and also look into the AI and automation tool that were being incorporated in the industry, and just have a look into it. And once you start looking at all those things, you will get to know many things, and which will also boost your career, and also which will open a different aspect in your mind, and what's really happening in the market and what's really happening in the pharmaceutical industry. And, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaushik sir, for your insightful session. Dear attendees, I know that after such interesting and valuable sessions, you all must have a lot of questions. However, due to time constraints, we may not be able to take them right now. Please feel free to post your questions at cst@biotechnica.org, and we'll be happy to answer them there. So as we come to close of today's webinar, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speakers for their valuable time, expertise, and engaging presentations. Dr. Vidya Sagar sir, your detailed overview of regulatory best practices laid a strong foundation for understanding the core of pharmacovigilance. Suraj Kumar Shah sir, your session on emerging trends opened up new perspectives on the future of drug safety. And Kaushik Kumar sir, your insights into the latest trends and job opportunities have opened up valuable perspectives for all of us. We truly appreciate your contributions and are immensely grateful for your time, dedication, and expertise. To all our attendees, thank you for your enthusiasm. Your presence made this webinar a success. So as I have mentioned earlier, like because of the time constraint, we will not be able to take up the questions. Okay, so I think we have one question that we can take quickly. So I just request the team to have this question on the screen. So there's a question from Sudhir. Could you please guide us on what all AI ML tools one can learn to specifically for pharmacovigilance for career growth? Sir, anybody would like to take up this question?
May I answer, sir? Is it okay?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. So AI ML tools directly one cannot learn. First, you need to have a basic understanding of any basic language, whether it is C, C++, Java, Python. I think Python is the best language to learn because it correlates with English. Once you learn that part, then start to build your understanding on machine learning, then deep learning, and then basic AI algorithm. There are various tools, courses available. Even Biotechnica also conduct this kind of courses. You can take up those things. And the same concept of AI ML is being utilized in the machine learning, whether in research or any other area. So basic concepts are same only. There is no specific pathway because ML tools, it is not specific tool. Actually, they are algorithm. It can be random forest, it can be regression model, it can be a support vector machine, it can be any other machine. So people have developed lots of like n number of machine learning algorithms. So you have to first understand the basic thing, the coding part, and then you have to understand see how it works, what kind of data, because it is driven on data, and you have a pharmacovigilance data. You can put in that ML model, it will able to predict, or it can able to classify, or it can able to solve the problem. That is the answer from my side. And I would like to ask if anything needs to be added, Sagar sir and other sir, please feel free to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Suraj. It was explained beautifully. Nothing from my end.
I hope this answers your question, Sudhi. Thank you so much, sir. Just a general query I would like to take up here, sir. Like many attendees, they just wanted to know that, like as a fresher, like what all skills they need to get a job in this field. Like in brief, if somebody, any one of you can quickly answer this question. So as a fresher, like if they want to enter into this pharmacovigilance industry or the company, so like what all skills they can have or any kind of certifications, courses they can have or degrees they can have to have a job in this field.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah, please continue, sir.
Yeah, before if anyone planning to enter enter into PV domain or pharmacovigilance, the first thing they have to do is they need to research the current trends that were ongoing in the market. And apart from that, they need to do any courses or any project related to pharmacovigilance domain, because the people currently the hiring which were occurring is mainly based upon the trends what were happening in the market, and with align with the automation and artificial intelligence. So if anyone planning to enter into the market, I would suggest to undergo a course or take a course related to PV. Apart from that, also a course related to automation or any artificial intelligence course, which contributes more to their resume and also help them secure the job easily.
Thank you so much, Kaushik sir. So this was the general query which I could understand from the lot of questions which are coming in the chats. So thank you so much, Dr. Sagar sir, Dr. Shah sir, and Mr. Shah sir and Kaushik sir. So it's time to end the webinar, and a big thanks to all our attendees. Your presence has made this webinar a success, and we hope the session added a value to your learning and inspired further exploration into the dynamic field of pharmacovigilance. So stay connected for more such informative events. Until next time, take care and keep learning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.